Hi, welcome back. It's Bobby Shields with Dogbone Knives, and I got a haircut, so even got kind of trimmed up and everything. That's the reason I introduced myself again. I was afraid you might think you was lost. So today we're going to be talking a little bit on custom knives. And what brought this up to me today is a roundabout thinking there. We went to lunch today, Sunday, with my son's soon-to-be in-laws, and my son was talking about me making him another knife that he didn't like. The other knife worked real good and fine and everything else like that. It's just it didn't fit his hand right. And I told him, no problem, just come over and I'll get you sized up for a handle and we'll make you another knife. It won't be no problem at all. So that kind of moves you into the custom knife world. Is getting a knife that the handle will fit your hand. You know, so everybody's different, so one handle does not fit all. So with that, and his soon-to-be new father-in-law, asked me about the knives. You know, what kind of money was I talking about on the knives? And so I told him, I said, you know, it just depends on what you want. He said, well, just a basic bottom knife that you make, the cheapest knife you make. I thought for a second, I don't make cheap knives. Never made a cheap knife in my life. No, they're all the same. I mean, I treat the blade portion of them identical. They all get the heat treatment. The ones that will take the Hamon, they all take the same bath at minus 110 degrees below zero for 24 hours, sometimes 48 if there's enough ice in there. And if it's cool enough and everything works good, you know, from 24 to 48 hours, they stay in with the ice treatment. What I'm doing is I'm taking that martensite to levels of grain sizes that with the cold that you get with the heat, but once you go above something, you start burning the carbon out of it. But when you take it below in the temperature, you're still converting grain sizes down the steel to martensite, from astronite to martensite, into tiny grains. You want them grains, if you had a microscope that you could see it with, if you could get grains as small as powdered sugar, it'd be wonderful. Would it be so ever so grand? But I don't know that anybody does that, gets it down to powdered sugar grain sizes. Don't know, but I don't think mine will. But they're closer than people who don't do the cold step. And the ones that use liquid nitrogen do more that have finer grain than me. I don't do liquid nitrogen because I don't have a liquid nitrogen supplier handy, and I don't have a dealer for it. And I don't know how long it lasts here as hot as it is. But anyway, I digress on that. But anyway, he was wanting to know, and I said, well, my basic knife, like this, just a basic clip point knife with a handle, a straight back handle, jimping, a Hamon line if it's 1095, and a 220 grit finish and etched. My Carta handle and the cadet sheath is $125 shipped anywhere in the lower 48s. Anyway, wow. I said, was that cheap or what? He said, that's a little high, don't you think? I said, well, I don't know. Would you work for 20 hours for $75? He said, what? I said, yeah, on that knife I sell like that, I've got about $50 worth of materials and everything in it, gas, ice, sandpaper, grinding belts, everything. You know, ferric chloride, everything. Etch it, everything. You know, and then it takes me about 20 hours. He said, no, I don't believe I would. Don't believe I'd work 20 hours for that. I said, well, I don't like doing it either, but that's what I sell my beginner entry level to custom knife for. Now, you know, so, and then they go up from there, depending on, like you said. He said, well, how far can they go up? And I thought, well, depends on the size of the knife, the steel that's included, what you want it out of. If it's Damascus, that's already 10 times the price right there, just Damascus. Even if you buy the Damascus. You know, I went to the Atlanta Blade Show, when was it, last year? Yeah, last year. And, not 2019, yeah. And they were selling chunks, just little pieces of Damascus for $4 an ounce. $4 an ounce. There's another place selling Damascus billets. A 187 thick Damascus billet was selling for $585, and it was 10 inches by 2 inches by 187 thick. $500 and some dollars, and it went up from there. It had titanium Damascus, had stainless Damascus, all these other kinds of stuff. They even had the what is it where you do the copper and the nickel, silver, and all this stuff. They had that too, and every bit of it's expensive. The offcuts, I'm talking about, they were selling the offcuts off of Damascus billets for $10 a piece. The end cuts, the very end where the whole end of it's just nasty, gnarly, and just, you know, looks like burnt toast, you know, I mean, just burn up. Selling them little pieces that was about 2 inches wide by about 3/8 thick, maybe an inch long, for $10 a piece. And they was being snatched up, but I wouldn't have one. Wouldn't do that. No. So the super steels and everything else, everything's accumulative. 1095 is probably 1080, 1070, 1080, 1084, 1095. It's going to be in that same general window. There's going to be a price difference between them, but it's not going to be as much between as, say, 1095 and 01. They're not going to have that price jump per foot for the same stuff, same thickness, same width, just for different material. Now, and from 01 to 80 CRV2 is another big jump. It don't double, but it goes up quite a bit. But 01, it really goes up a bunch, because 1095 and the lower steels like that come in 4 foot lengths. 01 comes in 3 foot lengths, and it's probably $20 higher and a foot less. So with that, and then the 80 CRV2 is $40 something plus shipping, you know, for a 4 foot length of it. So yeah, it gets expensive. Like I said, with the Damascus, you know, if you like Kyle Royer and Alex Steele and all them, and Will Selter, they make their own Damascus, and they do all kinds of ferry flips and this, that, and the other, everything else like that. When they get done with it and they sell this knife, it brings a premium price. I'm talking about premium. Kyle Royer's last one I heard of him selling was about, I don't know, about a 16-inch fighting buoy for like $30,000, maybe more. But it was a Damascus knife that he made. and showed you how to do it and everything. I believe it took him like 120 hours or something like that to make it. You sell it for $30,000. $300 an hour is pretty good money in anybody's book on that now. But like I said, you got consumables in there. So what he actually dropped down from $300 an hour down to would be like $250 an hour. That's good money, you know. And you know, but anyway, with that, each knife is priced accordingly. You know, like I said, this knife right here, $10.95 out the door with a micarta handle and a Kydex sheath, nothing else. Just a knife with a handle and a sheath. $125. That's the get to know. Let's introduce you to Custom Knife Works. Most people's is quite a bit higher. There's one fella that does all his on CNC, and I believe it's stainless steel that he uses, and he cures it or sends them off and has them cured, and anyway brings them back, and he only makes one knife, one style and one style only. Makes a Kydex case for it, everything. $400 a knife plus shipping. And he's found something that his customers like, so that he only makes one. Now, a custom knife maker, difference between knife maker and a custom knife maker is we will go with you through the process. We don't want to say, here's your Walmart knife for $69. No. No. How wide do you want the blade? How thick do you want it? How long do you want it? How long do you want the handle? How big a guard do you want? Do you want a guard? Do you want a landry hole in it? Do you want pins? Do you want screws in the handles? What kind of handle material do you want? You want micarta? Do you want wood? Do you want mammoth molar? Do you want hippo teeth? You want mammoth ivory? And no mammoth was harmed during this filming of this at any one time or another. Because yes, this right here is mammoth ivory. Yes, I have some. A little bit. Not enough to make a knife with. That's what the others, these are offcuts. That $55 a side. That's $110 for the scales, and they wasn't much longer than this. So nope, that ain't the same piece. But anyway, and I got 3 pieces just in case I screwed up on one. So yeah, $55 a piece. All I've got left is little pieces now. And no, I didn't screw up on that. Thank God for that. You ain't staying $55 at a whack per side. That's, you know, that's what I'm talking about. That right there is thin. I mean, that was thin. You can buy piano keys with Indian ivory on top of it now from Culpeper. Yeah, it's what is it? Knifehandles.com. I believe that's what it is. I believe that's that. They send me an email every once in a while when they run a dye special where you can send your bone or whatever else in, and they'll dye it and whatever else for you like that. But anyway, I'm getting off a little bit off topic, but not much. About the cost of everything. Everything costs. Everything in a knife building shop is a consumable. The only thing it's not as consumable as you. And the steel, a piece of steel is consumable. You cut it off, you don't have this much steel. You throw this in the fire, gas is consumable. It's being consumed. You leave this too long in the fire, it's consumed. You got to start over again. Grinder belts. they're consumable. Your drill bits, they're consumables. They break, you gotta have another one. You can't just go all your life with one. The same way with knives. You can't, they're like potato chips. You can't have just one. No, you gotta have more. I got knives laying everywhere. I carry knives. I've got knives in drawers that I carried. And that's folding knives. First one thing and another. Everything is consumable from your, everything is. But the way you go to a custom knife maker, and why, like my son, is to get a handle that fits you, a blade type suitable for what you're doing. Now, are you an Alaskan guide? Then you want a good, heavy, strong knife that you can, thick blade, heavy, so you can chop, but you want it a little short. You want a handle that you can hang on to real good, and you want a sheath that will let the moisture out. You don't want it being trapped in leather so it will rust all the time. You want a good knife, if you have to, that you can wrestle a grizzly bear to the ground and take it home with you, but not leading it. You want a knife that you can depend on. You want it heavy. You want it with a dual purpose, that if you get out and it's raining, you're wet, your matches and everything else gets wet and everything else like that. If you've got, you know, if you can get to a rock and some sort of dry tinder somewhere or another, you can get a fire going with a high carbon steel knife. You want that diversity in a knife. You want one, first and foremost, you want one that fits your hand, because it's going to be your main working tool. After your rifle, after your weapon of choice, a bow, a spear, a blowgun, a bazooka, whatever your weapon of choice is, unless you use a bazooka on one, then you're going to have a knife. Now, I've never seen anybody cut one up and pack it out with a bullet. Not even the case, an empty case with a bullet. You got to have a knife, or be able to make one out of the rocks that you can find, but you have to have a knife. That is a given. Now, you want one that will fit all the criteria. Criteria. You don't just run down to Walmart or Barlow's or Us and just pick up a knife. If you do, well, you're taking a crapshoot. You know, is this knife going to hold up? Am I going to wear out 2 or 3 Whitstones the first bear I skin out, or the first moose, caribou, black bear? What? Is it going to? What if I need to chop down a tree, or a small tree? Granted, no, it's not an axe, but yeah, can I use it to make a gambrel stick? Yeah, you can cut it, shave it down, and fix it where you can hang it up, whatever, like that. So after your first weapon of choice to harvest game, regardless of what it is, you need a knife. Unless you've got some really sharp teeth and willing to get hair between them to go after it, then you're going to need a knife. Fish is about the only thing you really don't need a knife for, because you can just tear them apart. I've done that with trout. So, but for the most part, if you're in the outdoor world, hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, doing the survivalist stuff, bushcrafted, you got to have a knife. Everything leans off of a knife. That was probably the first tool made by modern man, or even caveman, or whatever it was way back in the day, other than a stick to poke something with. But as far as making something to cut with, a knife was the first thing. They didn't spit out swords or anything else. Rocks, and they picked them up. They probably did it around a fire that they had probably seen. That's my theory, around a fire that was there, a natural fire, and they figured out that they could keep that natural fire going by adding more fuel to it, and some of the rocks flake off through the heat and have a sharp edge on them, so they could use it like that. Whether it happened that way or not, I don't know. Wasn't there. But yeah, like I said, he wanted to know the price of them, you know. So, and I told him, you know, I said, the sky's the limit. You know, you can go from $125 my base knife and sheath to you can go up to whatever your pocketbook can afford. I mean, these knife makers out there get super prices because they are super meticulous in their process. What they're, because first and foremost, a knife is a tool, and a tool ain't no good unless it's sharp. So just because it's pretty don't mean it's a good tool, but his are. So, and you know, he said, well, my son's new daddy-in-law said, never thought about that before. I said, yeah. I said, that's the way it is. There's a lot of people don't think about this. And truth to tell you, before I started making them like this, I didn't really think about it. Because I'd always, if I wanted something other than what Walmart had or a particular outdoor store, well, I'd just make it. You know, I'd take something and make it. And I've made knives, you know, on and off all my life about it. You know, make one here and there everywhere. Not real reasonable. I mean, not real consecutive or anything like that. I didn't make knives like I am now, you know, and have been since the last 5 years or so. But anyway, with that, I just thought I'd give this a little heads up on this, to the price of a getting into the world of custom knives being made. Now, on a $125 knife, it's going to be hand sanded to a 220 grit or a 240 on the belt. I was going to 240 this one on the belt, and I bought from a different supplier this time. Tried to save a little bit of money. I mean, I figured a belt was a belt, but no, they're not. The tape on the back of the belts is too thick, and it bumps when it comes around it and you're on it. They run true enough and they cut fine. It's just that the tape that they're spliced together with is too thick, and they bump, and that leaves a little ripple in your finish. So I decided I'd just go ahead and hand sand it. You know, it only takes probably an hour. Hand sand both sides. It was already pretty close, and so with that was why I've done that. And like I said, it was going to be this little knife right here. The tip of it, I got the tip a little too thin when I was sanding on it, and it was still there, but when I put it in the etch to etch it, it etched it off, which it will real thin. That's the reason you got to leave it a little bit thick on the edge. If you don't, you'll get a chemical etch, and they will hurt you coming out of the etch. Because I've got too many cuts on my fingers from putting them in there almost sharp to having them come out to where you bleed every time you touch them. So, and that's not fun. It's bleeding every time you touch one of these knives. So, but before it goes into the sheath for the last time, it will be sharp. It will be as sharp as I can humanly make it. Out there till, you know, that everybody wants a custom knife till they hear the price. Then nobody's got the wallet for it, and I understand that 100%. I understand that, and so, but like I'm saying, if you want a knife like your neighbor, you want a knife like your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your cousins, whatever else, and they all bought their knives from Walmart, well, run to Walmart, buy you a knife like that. If you want a knife that's going to last till your great-grandchildren wear it out, then you come to a custom knife maker. Not just me, any of them, anyone that does the custom knives will do you a great knife instead of good. 99.9% of all the custom knife makers out there will give you in the first 15 seconds of handling their knife more quality than you could get out of a tractor and trailer load of Walmart knives. That's a fact. That's not me just tooting my own horn. This is something I'm kind of passionate about. And if you're not passionate about it, you shouldn't be doing it, regardless of what it is. I mean, nobody wants to get up and go to the same job for the next 40 years that makes you want to shoot yourself in the head every day. Don't do that. It would hurt. Only once, I'm assuming. But find something that you're passionate about. If you find something that you're passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. You'll have fun doing it. Granted, you get aggravated, like I do sometimes when I keep finding my tools. They get up and walk off and have a tool party somewhere and don't invite me. So, that's just par for the course. Tools is like that. I mean, all of them's buttholes, so, how can I say? Especially mine, because they like to hide, and they're good at it. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short, go edit it, and try to get it up tonight if I can. So, this Bobby Shields here, fresh haircut and everything, a little beard trim, everything. Said, till next time, God bless.